Next up, my guys, the New Orleans Saints. Last year, they had a challenging season, to say the least. The defense was okay. The offense didn't start off all that great, but finished pretty strong. They end up 9-8. They lose the division on a tiebreaker. They end up missing out on the playoffs. They don't make any major additions this year. They lose Michael Thomas, who's not much of a loss at this point in his career. They do add Clint Kubiak, who was an offensive coordinator for the 49ers, and we all know how good that Shanahan offense is. Their projected win total is only 7.5, so the experts are projecting a little bit of a drop-off. Where are you going on the Saints here?
You're not gonna like this, Khaled. I'm going under. Only because I don't know, man. Like, I think we saw that line; it was horrendous, and I think they lost, what was it, Ramsek, for like he's like out for the season, so they just lost one of their key guys on the line too. I just don't know if that line has enough to protect Derek Carr to give him the ability to make the plays that he needs to make. And then we're going to see Spencer Rattler here. People are like, oh, maybe Spencer Rattler is going to be better than Derek Carr. And Saints fans will find out real quick he probably isn't. So for those reasons, I'm going to say the line is a big concern. Defense was just mediocre. I put him here around 6-7 wins. I think I would say 7 wins is where I'm heading with the Saints here.
I get it. I completely understand. I'm going to go the over. I don't think that's a surprise for you. I think 7.5 is pretty low. I feel like Derek Carr personally is underrated as a quarterback. I think that they last year, obviously their line was bad. They did make some improvements. They drafted the kid from Oregon State. I forget his name at this point. I forget his Saimata. No, that's the guy who went to the Chiefs.
Oh, was it Talisi something?
Yeah, Talisi. Yeah. Mwaga, something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
Big Simone dude, who's a really good young offensive tackle. They bring in Chase Young, who I know he wasn't great for the Niners last year, but I think he has something to prove. This is a prove-it deal. I think the defense is going to be better. They're not going to miss Alvin Kamara for 4 games because of suspension at the start of the season, which was a big deal because he is a safety blanket for Derek Carr. I think he has a solid offensive weapons around him. Chris Olave is a exciting young wide receiver. Rashid Shaheed is a great deep threat. Juwan Johnson is a good tight end, good enough tight end. So I think they're going to be able to challenge Atlanta. I think Atlanta is that team that just has way too much hype around it. And I think New Orleans is going to benefit from being a potential underdog. And I don't think 7.5 is crazy. I think they probably sweep Carolina, probably split with Atlanta and Tampa, and there you go. That's 4 wins, and then you got to win 4 more the rest of the year. I don't think that's much of an ask. So I'm going to go the over. I do think that they are going to win the division this year. You can call me biased or whatever, but I do think that their defense is going to be, again, good enough. They have playmakers all over the field, and on offense, I think they have enough talent to keep things going.
Yeah, aren't the Saints like your second favorite team now, Khaled?
It's my guy DC. I'm not shy about it. All right, the Seattle Seahawks. This was a team that showed a little bit of regression last year. They went 9-8, barely missed out on the playoffs in a very tough NFC West, thanks to the Rams and the Niners. They do lose Pete Carroll, who was there for 20 years or something. They do hire a very exciting defensive coordinator in Mike McDonald, who's now their head coach, and he was the architect of a very good defense in Baltimore. So this is going to be maybe a resurgence of the Legion of Boom, but their projected win total is only 7.5. So which way are you going for the Seahawks?
I'm going over here, Khaled, because I do think Mike McDonald is going to come in and kind of re-energize that defense here. And Geno Smith kind of regressed last year. I think he's going to get more out of his receivers this year. I think JSN is going to take a big step forward here for the Seahawks. And then, you have Kenneth Walker, you have Charbonnet. So I do think Geno Smith will kind of get back to what he was 2 years ago. And that should be good enough here to get him to 9 wins again, maybe 10 wins again. I do see them coming in second here in the division ahead of the Rams. I do like what they have on defense.
The key difference.
Yeah.
I think that's the key difference between you and me is I think the Rams are going to be better. Just because of the coach and the quarterback, it's hard for me to pick against the Rams. I think it's barely under. I think 7 wins, but I do think the division is going to be better. Obviously, it was tough enough last year with the NFC champs, but I do think Arizona is going to be a little bit better because we're going to get a full season, maybe, out of Kyler Murray. And they looked frisky at the end of last year, even though they only won 4 games. So for that reason, I think it's rookie head coach. It's tough. There's always that one rookie head coach that comes up big and has a big bounce back or helps a team bounce back. But I do think Gino is who he is. He had that one magical year, but I think last year is closer to the guy that he is, which is kind of a below average starting quarterback, maybe just around average. It was a good story, but I think he's going to turn back into a pumpkin this year. Next, Tampa Bay. The Buccaneers were a surprising 9-8. They won the NFC South again on a tiebreaker with the New Orleans Saints. Baker Mayfield was a great redemption story after being kicked around by a couple teams over the past few years, cast out by Cleveland, cast out by Carolina, kicked to the curb by the Rams after Matt Stafford came back healthy. And again, they end up 9-8 despite having a pretty bad defense, but they got a lot of weapons on offense. It seems like Vegas is not a fan of Tampa Bay going into this year, and their projected win total is only 7.5. Which way are you leaning on the Bucs?
I'm leaning over here on the Bucs. I do think the Baker Mayfield redemption story was a good one. I think he continues that kind of play. The offense plays at a pretty high level. I don't think the defense got any worse outside of trading Carlton Davis, but they added some guys there. So I do think Tampa Bay hits it again right there on the 9 wins. And they should be challenging the Falcons here for the division title. But I think right around there, around 9 wins, is pretty spot on for the Bucs again this year.
I'm going under. I think basically I think everything that you said about New Orleans, I think applies to Carolina, or not Carolina, sorry, to Tampa. I think the Baker Mayfield magic is going to run out. I don't think they wanted to pay him, but it was almost like we kind of have to because you want a playoff game. And even though it was against a really bad Eagles team, so I think this team caught some breaks. They do have talent on offense. I don't think the defense is going to be very good. So, and again, Atlanta should be better. I think New Orleans is still going to be good, and Carolina is going to be a little bit better. I think just because of hopefully you see some improvement from Bryce Young and some of the weapons he has around him. But I'm not seeing 9-10 wins for this team. I think they're going to be right around that 5 to 7 range. And again, I think the wheels are going to fall off the Baker Mayfield hype train. All right, the Arizona Cardinals. Last year they were a frisky 4-13, if that's possible. When Kyler Murray came back, they had a little more excitement to them. They showed some fight. Jonathan Gannon was a rookie head coach, and they started to play better for him near the end of the season. I think they were just kind of devoid of talent. They end up getting Marvin Harrison Jr., who is a generational prospect. Some people are calling him the next Calvin Johnson, the next Randy Moss, all that stuff. So with all that in mind, with a potential Kyler Murray healthy season and some of the other things around them, their projected win total has been bumped up to a surprising 7.5. So which way are you leaning on the Cardinals?
I'm leaning under here, Khaled. I don't know if we will get a fully healthy Kyler Murray season, right? It's been a while since we've seen a full season of Kyler Murray. Again, I still think not a lot of talent outside of Kyler Murray, Marvin Harrison Jr. What else did they got, right? Like aging James Conner. Trey McBride, I guess, is another kind of up and coming tight end here. But I feel like not enough talent on both sides of the ball, and 7.5 might be a little, like 8 wins might be a little hard for them to come by, especially in that tough NFC West. So I'm thinking they're probably closer to a 6-7 win team is where they probably end the season. So I'm taking the under here.
We agree on that. I think it's a lot to ask. Again, Kyler Murray, like you said, he just doesn't seem to play full seasons, which is part of the package of being that small and being that reliant on your athleticism. You're going to go out and take big hits, even though his ACL was a non-contact injury. But just in general, he never seems to play a full season. Marvin Harrison, I think, is going to be everything that he's advertised, but I think it's going to take some time for them to develop some chemistry. Kyler Murray didn't play at all in the preseason, so we're going to see a little bit of growing pains with that connection. I do like some of the other weapons. You mentioned Trey McBride, Michael Wilson, I think is a solid second receiver. The defense was okay. I just don't see any blue chippers on the defense. So they're going to kind of piece it together and see what they can come up with. But I think 8 wins is a lot. Again, with that division, even Seattle, who I'm low on, is not a pushover. So you're going to have automatically 6 games where I don't think they'll be favored in any of them, at least right now, in the start of the season. So I think 7.5 is a lot, or 8 wins is going to be a lot. So I'm going to go under, but I think they'll be, again, like a frisky 6-7 win team where they show some promise, but we're probably not getting 17 games from Kyler Murray.